Welcome back and good evening to the We Are Rise show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing out there on this wonderful Monday? Rainy all day. We need the rain. It's been raining all weekend. I feel like I've been stuck in the house all weekend. It's crazy. Tonight's show, the Blanche's deal. Todd Blanche, he's going to be confirmed as the Attorney General. Is this a win for the Senate or Trump? Man with two first names. Never trust a man with two first names. Why Mark Wayne Mullen is almost out the door. Trans in the WNBA. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover that tonight. So we had some technical difficulties we've had for like at least a week. I uploaded yesterday's show that only aired on YouTube and Pilled. So if you guys are on Rumble, you can go back and watch it. I uploaded it. We're able to put that out there. So yeah, thank you for the nice shirt. So yeah, everything should be working. Hello over there on Rumble, True Terror Nod Dog. Good evening on pill.net. How you doing? A lot of people hit me up on YouTube saying, yeah, the show wasn't playing on Rumble. And I said, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do. But it seems like it's playing now. Let me know 5x5. We're all good. Everybody's good. No problem. Welcome in, everybody out there. I want to give my opening statement, my discussion for tonight. I want to go into it because some things that we're going to discuss, I'm going to go a little different in this. We're going to discuss trans in the WNBA and maybe the possibility of discovering something that could be really just eye-opening. So the discussion tonight is Blanche's legalese. The only place where we take the fine print, the loopholes, and the outright nonsense and cut straight through tonight. We're tearing it into an anti-weapon fund. That's what we're discussing, the anti-weaponization fund. Who's bankrolling it? Has it being reworked? And what is actually it means when the same people pushing restrictions start rewriting the rules? And this is important, behind closed doors. So stick around. Blanche has got the statute, the spin, and the straight talk. Statement on the second topic. And while we're at it, let's stop pretending trans athletes have been competing in the WNBA under policies that prioritize inclusion over fairness, biological reality, and the integrity of women's sports. The data on male puberty advantages doesn't vanish just because someone changes a name or a form. Keep that in mind. Fans, players, and sponsors deserve transparency instead of the quiet, hide it and hope nobody notices approach. Yes, that is tonight's discussion we're going to have. We're going to get into it. Oh, that trans thing, man, it is blowing up. It's getting ugly out there. I think people need to recognize that if the NBA in some way is outed, hence the name outed in some way, or is discovered, it could violate contract laws. It could violate the collective bargaining agreements. Not only that, you would have lawsuits from fans, probably from players, female players. You'd have a whole host of stuff that's really going to explode. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to discuss woke societies right in the channel. What's up, Scott? Thank you so much. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's well. Scott, thank you for rating the channel. And so let's welcome in everybody from Woke Societies. What's up, Mother Chucka? I got your comments over here on Rumble. I thank you, my friend. Where we go one, we go all. Thea, thank you for the 300 gold pills. 2 nights in a row with Brett. Yes. And hopefully there's no problems. That's the key. I've been every day, I've been sitting here just trying to figure out what the problem is. And I know it's StreamYard. It's not me. It's StreamYard. So unless they get their act together, we're going to have a divorce. And I think that's the problem. I think so. Would USA, what's up? Thank you for the 219 gold pills. Miss B, how you doing? What's up, Sausage Launcher? What's up, fuckers? Alphabet Omega Pill. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for donating 115 gold pills. Trusty Turnip, good evening. Yeah, you weren't here last night. I did the show at 9 o'clock. I had to push it back, Trusty. So you guys can watch it on Rumble, or, you can play the rewind on Pilled, what have you and stuff. Who else is here tonight? Curious Cat, welcome in. Good evening. How is it in Long Beach? Thank you for the cookie. How's the weather over there? Trump won. Good to see you. How you been? Darla L, what's going on? Thank you, Darla L, for the support last night. And welcome in everybody from Woke Societies. I guess he had a secret stream tonight. Thank you for all coming in tonight. Again, we're going to discuss a lot of stuff. I want to get into Blanche's deal, Todd Blanche's deal, and then we're going to cover, we're going to get into other things. The man with two first names. We're going to cover the trans WNBA, I think explosion. The things that are unfurling out, it's getting ugly. You're going to see lawsuits and crazy stuff happening. So let's get to it right now. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill if you want to support the platform. Buymeacoffee.com. /We Are Rise. You know what to do. All right, let's get into it right now. So Todd Blanche's AG nomination, and I think this is important for us to discuss. Let me blow this up right here. I think this is important. The nomination averts a total derailment. Acting Attorney General, let me blow this up so you guys can see it. I think this is big in a lot of ways. Todd Blanche's AG nomination averts a total derailment. Missing late Lindsey Graham right now, the South Carolina Republican, prevented many critical pieces of legislation from going off the rails, and it nearly happened. Blanche's nomination to officially make him the nation's top law dog official was on the verge of being derailed. Tillis and Cornyn, both these two senators are going to be gone come November, all right? They're done. They've been primaried out. And weren't satisfied with Blanche's stance on the DOJ's anti-weaponization fund, a $1.8 billion effort. Let's keep in mind, President Trump won a lawsuit of like $10 billion from the IRS. He settled for 1.8 in order to what? Convert this into some type of restitution of damages, some recompense, some compensation for all the pardoned January 6 people or many other people who have been wronged by the United States government. But no. Democrats, Rhino Cox, they're like, no, we can't have that. We can't admit in some way that our government actually did what it did. No, it did. But the bottom line is that they can't have it under a watch. Even though Todd Blanche, a lot smarter than most people give him, we're going to break it down into how he bypassed this whole thing in a lot of ways. So the $1.8 billion effort that distributed payments to Americans believed that they were politically persecuted by the Biden DOJ, that day's long and past is reportedly over. President Trump to pull Blanche's nomination and waited until both Republican senators, both of whom are gone next session were no longer in the picture. The president was very much in for this fund. But Blanche opted to compromise. And that's the key. Again, was this good for the Senate? Did the Senate win in this, or did President Trump in it? Well, he got his confirmation as AG, or will. My team have met with the committee members in the Senate over the past several weeks and addressed any concerns of outstanding questions. We have enjoyed good faith discussions as a result. Issue that following order update regard to the May IRS settlement. Acting Attorney General Blanche on Sunday formally rescinded key aspects of the Justice Department controversial legal settlement. With President Donald Trump, a move toward breaking a days-long impasse with the Senate Republicans that had threatened to sink Blanche's chances for being confirmed. In a social media post, Blanche highlighted two amendments to the deal the Justice Department struck in May to resolve Trump's claims against the IRS. The second change here, the first formally eliminated the proposed nearly $1.8 billion fund for people who claim they were victims of politicized prosecutions, codifying in writing a pledge that Blanche had previously made in a sworn testimony. The second change clarified a separate aspect of the deal that offered Trump, his sons, and their affiliated business protections from any past tax claims. The revised documents made clear that the protection would only apply retroactively and would not shield the Trumps from future audits. Let me stop there. A lot to unfold here. I want to explain to everybody out there what the hell is going on. What's up, woke societies? Good to see you. Let's get into this really a lot of ways. What does this mean in so many ways? A lot of people are trying to figure it out, and I want to state this for the record and stuff because I want people to understand: was this highly loyal, well-regarded AG who is, put it this way, being cock-blocked by the Senate, or a compromise who gets confirmed? Think about it. If he's being blocked by the Senate, obviously in some way, and they wanted him to capitulate in certain scenarios, he's obviously not a compromise, okay? Because his confirmation is more precarious and unpredictable in the future, not for the Trump administration, but for the Senate and a lot of people of the deep state that he's going to go after in a lot of areas. But let's fast forward to this. Let's explain what this is really about. So what did Blanche sacrifice in this controversial fund? He narrowed the audit shields. That's all he did. to get Cornyn and Tillis on board and to confirm him. What does that mean? Narrow the audit shields. He basically put peaky blinders on it to say we're going to have more of a strict way of like utilizing certain parameters in this if there are going to be conditions where a settlement or payouts may still happen, because the underlying settlement here still carries weight. It still has leverage and influence. Keep that in mind. And this could be what? Dredged up and examined later on for review. It hasn't gone away. See, the original settlement still claims that the AG, who is now confirmed or will be confirmed, must create the fund. See, hence the AG must. He was acting AG. So the new AG, which is him, will have to create it one way or another. This anti-weaponization fund. And only a new written agreement signed by the Trumps, all right, and the government can change that settlement. Blanche's order was only signed by him alone, not by the Trump or the Trump organization. So the idea is that the possibility that he argued that his initial hearing that the Trump's lawyers could force the government to honor it or claim that the DOJ is in breach of this agreement. So what was sacrificed here? What did they lose in some way? I don't think they lost anything. And I think what we're understanding is right now, there is several people that we're talking to. Grassley probably had some conversations with these guys on their way out and saying, hey, look, don't do anything stupid. You might regret it. And it's a possibility that they were given a talk to or dressed down in some way. But the legal prerequisite here is that the original settlement still provides and enforces that the AG must create this fund. All Blanche did was argue that at his initial hearing that he signed, him alone, not the Trumps or the Trump organization, in order to what? Rescind this in some way. So you'll wait till probably after the election. All right. And that's what's going to happen if we have one. I don't think we're going to have one, but that's just me. Or if we do, it might be postponed. But either way, if we have one, where does that go from there? Most likely, probably at the end of the year. All right, we'll probably start to see these types of things come back up because we'll have more people in there, MAGA people in the Senate. You'll have more people fighting on Trump's behalf. You'll have the AG in a better position now to rule with the iron fist, and also to make sure that there's no reprisals. Because look, you don't want the Trump organization or President Trump suing the DOJ, all right, because they're in breach of this contract, or the lawyers, all right, because it's going to look even worse. So what you want to do is to make sure that you just follow the protocols in place. They gave them what they wanted, okay, which is Cornyn and Tillis, and it doesn't matter, all right? They're both gone. They're leaving. So it doesn't matter what they demanded, the changes, and threatened to vote against Blanche's nomination if their concerns were not addressed. The point being is that they basically said, look, Blanche rescinded the original document, and he signed it, but not President Trump. Thus, when he becomes AG, a new legal brief or document will be what? Created by the Justice Department through the AG's office, and thus will be signed by the Trump organization and the Trumps based upon what we're doing. So did in some way, did the lettering, did the legalese in some way change the directive? What it had transpired for a lot of people? What did people lose? What did they think they lost? What did they gain out of this? I don't think anybody's less or the wiser here. All it is that the rescinding order, okay, earlier on, and the directive to set up the fund will now be what? It'll be more viable. It'll address more certain issues and stuff that'll have more parameters. But all they have to do is rewrite another one. So why was this such a big deal? Because two assholes in the Senate who were not Trump people, that President Trump did not support, Tillis, all right, and Cornyn, Texas and North Carolina, are going to have new senators in there. And all they were doing was holding this up. And this was about nothing. Blanche was a great pick. But the other argument is this, that the blocking of this in a lot of ways raises the level of where we're looking for, because we've had terrible picks with AGs. Obviously, the Pam Bondi thing didn't go well with Epstein. I mean, whatever you think. I mean, I'm not going to hear and dress her down. I mean, that's Trump's friend, right? But think about Jeff Sessions. Think about him. Think about Bill Barr. So President Trump hasn't had a really good AG in his corner that's just is smart, that will carry out the wishes that he needs, but also that will execute in a manner that needs to be done. And I think this time around, getting him in there and seeing how they were willing to block this guy should scare them all. It also shows that this guy might not be compromised like the previous ones who would just breeze through. Bill Barr, maybe Pam Bondi, maybe Sessions. Who knows? All I'm saying is right now is that we should look at this in a different manner and not raise red flags. This was a good thing today, and this is going to happen and move forward. And the fact that the lettering, the legalese, let's just say the preconditions of how this broke down and how this was set up, all they have to do is when he becomes a new AG is what? Put forth another legal brief, another order and stuff, and then he'll sign it, the Trumps will sign it, and the lawyers will sign it, and then they can move forward with this. And they'll do it after the election, and no one's going to lose in this matter. No one's the wiser. And I think the best thing about all this, if you really consider it, is that the American people are looking at this, all right? They're hoping in some way that the January 6th people that were punished in such a way, and it's not just them, it's many other people that are demonetized, deplatformed, debanked, who suffered greatly at the hands during the first administration into the Biden administration that was stolen election, not to mention COVID and many other things that were precarious that you have to consider that these types of, let's just say, allocations of funds for restitution or compensation will afford these people a good, let's just say, bypass to the reality of the situation. You could sue all you want, but if you don't have a specific case to something to stand on, some legal precedent, it's very hard to win these cases against the United States government in this matter. And I think right now, what President Trump has done, he hasn't backed off. He even he's like, I'll just pull Blanche. And you know what? We'll pull Pulte in there. You know what? Pulte's probably going to be the new Homeland Secretary. I mean, this guy's all over the place. This is great. All right, let's move on. So Joe Lang puts this out. And I just want to go through this because this is important. We're probably going to get some type of fun eventually, and it'll probably be after the midterms. And that's a good thing. That is a great thing. We should consider that. So let's continue on. So Cornyn and Tillis, this comes from Joe Lang. Predictable. They both were corrupt, and Trump reminded them that they and them were capitulated. Trump holds the leverage over these corrupt politicians. So the Q drop, blah, blah, blah. Anonymous. Any person making statements that will not be seeking re-election was put into submission. Maybe. Okay. Did Grassley have a talk with them for betterment of the country? Not will be prosecuted and do as you're told. So maybe these guys got the drift. Maybe they got the downdraft and said, hey, look, all right, shut up, go away, and, we won't come after you. It's possible. I don't know. Not normal, yet disregarded, and even on the D side. Nick Sorta, Justin, Rhinos, Cornyn, Tillis have dropped their opposition. So basically, all he did was rescind the original draft. They dropped it, and they're moving on. And that's it. He's going to go flying through colors. And now I don't know if there were other things, parameters that were put in place. We heard Mike Davis from the Article 3 Project say that, look, Grassley had a talking to with them, a stern talking to. Many other people were given the hat tip and say, hey, look, it's time you drop this. You try and you move on. And maybe in some way, the arm twisting in some way, they were basically told, listen, lay off, knock this off. If you don't knock this off, we're going to come from you. And it's quite possible that's the case. And you know what? So what? Who cares? I mean, Todd Blanche is going to get through, and finally, we're probably going to have a good AG, and that's important. That's the key that you got to keep in mind. Sessions was a silent executioner. I'm not wrecking Jeff Sessions, okay? But let's put it this way. He recused himself, whether it was on purpose or not, in the first term during these whole things with the Russia collusion story or not, was part of this in some way, really led to the preface of everything reaching a crescendo, getting Bill Barr in there, and then what had transpired. I don't know, but look, I'm not going to say one way or another. That doesn't matter. But again, having a very strong AG is important. You need to understand that. You need to keep that in mind. All right, moving forward. This is another thing I saw that we got to consider that. Now, we're talking about the anti-weaponization funds. We're talking about the 1776 money that Trump won through the IRS, which he settled for $1.8 billion instead of $10 billion. And he's setting this aside for future allocation funds for recompense for American citizens that were punished by the government, and also make sure that the IRS doesn't come after them financially down the line. There were certain parameters put in place. But Capital One, it said It closed Trump Organization accounts over money laundering concerns. Let's get into this right now. And this is part of the whole discussion that we're having right now of what is going on. Why would Capital One do this? Here, let me blow this up. So Capital One Bank has asked the federal judge to dismiss a lawsuit from the Trump Organization over the closure of hundreds of bank accounts. Now, listen, was this illegal? This was in 2021, arguing in new papers that the shutdowns were the product of a months-long anti-money laundering review. No retaliation for January 6th Capitol riot. If you believe that, many people have said their bank accounts all over the place. Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, you name it, okay? All right, Bank of America were shut down, okay, because of what? These types of retaliations, because they didn't like what you were saying about COVID, about the stolen election, many other things. Again, you were debanked, deplatformed, demonetized. And Capital One right now is not admitting that they did this. But listen, in a motion to dismiss the case filed on Friday in Florida, federal court, a Capital One's lawyers wrote that the bank's own filings and the Trump business's allegations made clear that the Capital One closed plaintiffs' accounts for anti-money laundering reasons, AML. The bank said the decision followed months of analysis and careful review by its financial crimes, which it said was staffed by employers with decades of law enforcement experience. But the filing suggests that the Trump Organization and affiliated entities were giving no opportunity to address any money laundering or compliance efforts. Wow. They basically said, no, that's it. Case done. So it's unclear if let me see that. Subsequent banks for the Trump Organization have ever raised money laundering concerns. That's the key. Are other banks suggesting that too, that actually shut down bank accounts? We haven't seen that so far. What steps did the organization took in response to Capital One's allegations? The Trump Organization didn't immediately respond to a request. You're going to have class action lawsuits. And this is all part of this right now that you're starting to see. And this is going to be covered. So years-long dispute over hundreds of accounts centers around 385 accounts tied to Trump Organization, Eric Trump collection of affiliated businesses, including a winery, a bottled water company, golf course developer. That bank was Capital One for more than a decade before the accounts were shut down in mid-2021. In an amended complaint filed early in July, the Trump-affiliated companies insisted that the closures had nothing to do with financial crime or money laundering, but everything to do with politics. The Trump Organization alleges Capital One moved to distance itself from Donald Trump after the Capitol riot, and that the bank cited anti-money rationale and was invented after the fact to cover up that decision. Capital One has flatly denied those assertions, and with its lawyers arguing in a new filing that the Trump theory rests on the cherry-picked quotations, unsupported by the full context of the bank's own records, and that nothing in that complaint shows anti-money laundering expert. If you have Capital One, get rid of them. Because let me tell you, they're going to be sued. They're garbage. They did shut down. It's not just the Trump people in the organization or in the orbit. It's people that were part of January 6th, part of calling 2021 a stolen election, pushing back about the narrative. The bank's lawyers also noticed that it kept reasoning for the closures confidential at the time. It never publicized the termination decision, nor its confidential internal process, giving the closure and gave Trump companies months, plus several extensions to move their money elsewhere, which they did. The bank says its contracts gave it broad discretion, disputing the facts. Capital One has reiterated in a new court filing that it had right to close any account at any time for no reason and without notice. You see that? Without any notice. The language that Trump companies do not dispute. The presiding judge, Roy Altman, already dismissed an earlier version of the lawsuit in March, ruling that the bank's reason for closing an account under the kind of open-ended contract clause generally cannot be second-guessed in court. Capital One has asked Altman to dismiss the new complaint permanently, this time without another chance to refile. I'll move on. Look, what is suspicious about that? It was right around after the stolen election. All right. And they weren't the only ones that did the same thing. You had many different banks that were in particular doing this for individual citizens, not in the Trump orbit per se, but the idea that if you were supporting them, if you were purchasing merch in some way, if you were doing anything, all right, in supporting the administration in any way, they went directly after your let's just say, current banks that you held, okay? And if you were working, they sent out to the Justice Department, or they sent it for the incoming Justice Department to you be labeled in order to do, in some way, that you were basically a denier. And that led to all these other things. And I think the problem that we're facing right now, and I think the biggest problem we're facing right now, these cases and lawsuits are not over. This is why I believe that the weaponization fund is bigger than you can possibly imagine. All right. I mean, $1.8 billion doesn't sound a lot to how many people when you think about how much money is going to go here. It's 20,000 a year, 10,000 a year. I'm not really sure. All right. But this is part of the reason why you need this fund. This just shows you what they were willing to do at any moment's notice to shut you down and quit you from what? Making money, making a buck, speaking about anything in regards to COVID, the 2020 election, or anything in that area. They wanted to hurt you, silence you, and make sure that you never speak again. And they did that so well. Let's welcome in everybody on Pilled. Super D, thank you for the cookie. Darlell for the can. Time is of the essence right now. I pray President Trump gets his full agenda that we voted for. Yeah, I think having the AG now moves the ball forward. Darla, get to the can, just passed the Save America Act. Yeah, I think this is also a good thing. Darla, great to see you. Good to see you too as well. Thank you, Curious Cat, for the cookie. Hello, Linda Perino. What's up? James over there on YouTube. Muslims taking over Indianapolis, Indiana. Right, it needs to be stopped in its it needs to be stopped in its tracks. We don't want Sharia in America. There's a lot of incidents all over the United States. And like I said, the closer we get to probably October, we're going to probably have a full out, disaster scenario that is going to impede upon our election. Whether it's going to be pushed back, stopped, I don't know. But we're probably going to see a lot of people realizing, hey, we can't stop this. We can't shut down the elections. So they're going to riot. They're going to make sure that it's going to be so uncomfortable that no one's going to want to go out to vote. I think so. And I think there's that feeling, that sentiment that a lot of people are pushing. They're selling that snake oil. You know what? Doesn't matter. It's going to happen nonetheless. People are going to go out. But if they feel in some way that polling places are unsafe, that's the key. Then you watch for the National Guard or many other municipalities to beef up with military, let's just say, entourage to protect these polling places. And you have to start with the blue cities. You have to. The voter rolls there are all garbage. It's probably worse than we could possibly imagine. I mean, we have 1.5 million illegals here in Florida. I don't know how many on the voters here, but they're here. They're here. We don't know how many are on the voter rolls per se. I mean, I know Florida is turning them over. Many other states are turning them over, but it's really New Jersey, New York, California, Oregon, Washington, many other states that, should we worry about? Well, yeah. I mean, those are states right now where you have governors up for re-election. You have senators up for re-election. It's important. You can't just dismiss it and say, well, it's California, it's this and that, and just give up. You can't. You can't do that. You can't walk away. All right. You have to secure this. You have to make sure that it's fair and honest for everybody. And if it's not, then you shut it down then. That's it. That's the bottom line. Is that what we're going to see? I don't know. I really don't. Moving on. Let's get into a couple other things that I didn't really want to touch on. So yesterday we talked about the divide and conquer and betray. We also talked about the Anon schisms and many other things that are happening around, let's just say, X and many other places, TPUSA, many places where you're starting to see the mask come off on a lot of these crowds, a lot of these people that pretend to be MAGA or America First or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what position they're in, but you're starting to see who they are and who they represent. I'm going to show you this right now. So here we are right now. Jack Posobiec comes out and he said this yesterday. Obviously, he's starting to he's having schisms. You're starting to see something else. He's made it clear. Remember, we talked about the knife fight, the punch up at the wedding, all right, so to speak, between Rubio and Vance. That's being a driven narrative, not because these two are actually fighting. It's because people like this are causing the consternation to disseminate this vitriol, and so that we can have one of these dust-ups, a knife fight, so we can have all these things that people are, let's just say, worrying about. And there is concern because you see you see Posobiec and many of his ilk are saying right now they will do everything in their power to stop Marco Rubio from becoming president. Wow. He's very close with Tucker Carlson and the rest of the woke right, which is exactly why the TPUSA needs to get rid of this fraudster. He's a liability for Republicans. This comes from Justin. Marco, immediate surrender. Rubio, the 2020 election process is complete, and no matter who we voted for, it's time to turn the page. Wow. List of things that are higher on your list for the Trump administration than Marco Rubio. So they really had this thing about, and you're starting to see, and that's, look at the date, 2024, 2024, and 2021. So this guy has a bugaboo, okay? Jack Posobiec is a snowflake. He obviously, there is something going on with Jack that is showing his face. And it's not just him. There are many people in that America First crowd, like Tucker, and make other people that are driving this narrative home that, look, what changed 6 years ago? And all of a sudden now that the monkey's off his back, the constraints are off his back, and somehow Rubio is fine and stuff. You didn't like him then. We couldn't trust him then, but now we should trust him now. And a lot of people are basically saying, no, you can't trust him at all. And they're driving this wedge home. So the America First crowd wants J.D. Vance, and other people are just stuck in the middle, fence sitters, and not really sure. They like Rubio, but they don't know where things are going. And I don't think President Trump has issued a statement in any way about he feels that J.D. Vance is going to advance, and he wants both of them to unify in this matter. Will they both? Maybe neither one of them. Have you ever considered that neither one of them may be? But yet there are people out there showing their hands, showing their cards in some way, basically lobbying for people right now for a reason. And the question is, why are they lobbying right now for these people? We haven't even gotten through the midterms, if we're even going to have the midterms, and people are lobbying for this. And still, I'm still waiting for the discussion. Yes, grifters, absolutely, Omega Pill. And yeah, I want to get to what? Maybe we get 2028 with Trump. That's why I don't care about all that stuff. Maybe Trump is going to be 2028. Have you ever thought about that? He might get 2 years. We still even haven't gone to that in this year. Let's just get through this year. And if we have the midterms, so we can discuss that. If not, I'm not worried about it. I'm not. But there are people making this a single issue left and right. When the 2020 election still is out there lingering, we're not going to relitigate it, apparently. And that's a problem. That's a problem. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that we're not going to re-argue, reopen, retry it. But, you have to show it proof positive that it was stolen. We can't just sit back and say, all right, that's it. And also, we have to tie in COVID with that to prove that was the reason with the mail-in ballots. So this is becoming more and more clear. They are fully dropping the mask, showing you who they think they've been working for behind the scenes. Here it is. Jones and Seraphin. Let's play this right now. Is it muted? No, it can't. Hold on a second. Let me see. It's low. I know it's low, but hold on. Let me see. Let me see. Let's see for a second. It was low. Fuck. It was low, but I don't know if it's playing. Hold on. Here, let me see some. I know it's playing low. I mean, I could barely hear it too. But it's basically what it is. It's showing Michael Flynn. Maybe I'm not going to play it because it's too low. I don't know why it's not doing that, but it shouldn't be like that. Let me see. Yeah, the sound's on for the tab, but it's not. It's just playing low. Hold on. Let's see if I can do this again. All right, let's try it now. I don't know why it's doing that. See if it'll play now. If you can hear it now, it's just low. I can't raise the sound on this.
And she asked me before Patel got sworn in, right before the confirmation, and she said, "How do we handle this Epstein situation? What would you do? What's your advice?" And I go, "Well, I don't know all the things that are involved, but this is what I would do. I would grab a bunch of agents that have a lot of experience in white collar fraud. I'd want some that are involved in transnational organized crime."
All right, I'll move on. This is the sound. So basically, it's the same.
And I've said this plenty of times about exactly who to go after. And I know that there's some things going on down in a Florida court. There's a grand jury and all that. And I've been told that there's some subpoenas that have been issued, and that that the lawyers are now starting to talk to each other. So, and that's because that's what happens. You can't have something like that. And it's like maybe the grand jury is sequestered in secret.
The point is basically what's going on here. The point is they're dropping their masks, showing that they've all been working together behind the scenes. Joan Serafin, Michael Flynn Jr., and General Flynn, Barnes, Barris, many other people apparently are working in tangent. This guy, Viva Fry, many other people that are behind the scenes that are operating in this matter. Thomas Massey, Barnes. The point of this whole thing is that you're starting to see the discussion that is popping up, that what a lot of people are not wanting to, let's just say, focus on, is that the direct connection to a lot of these people who have a different agenda, and that agenda is not President Trump. And they're working in unison against the president. And a lot of people, and they're saying things to get people, let's just say, on their side or not. And like I said, this whole thing that, let's just say, blew up yesterday, okay, that we were covering briefly in regards to what I was showing you about the Tucker Carlson thing and everything else, and him with his dinner and stuff. You're starting to see people pick sides, choose sides. They're going to start their own party. Here's David Clement says, silent on the rigged and stolen election, silent on the assault power coup of Trump. Some of the best limited hangout artists on the planet, a set of vultures circling the 2028. No thanks. I'll stick with Trump. That's the bottom line. That's what you got to consider what's happening. Because look, a lot of these people, they're planning on starting what? Their own party. They're trying to take votes away to undercut what? The Republicans from winning, and also undercut President Trump MAGA picks that what? Went against Massey, went against Cornyn, all these people. So that's what they're doing. And you know what? Who are these people really being paid? Were they just fake and gay from the beginning, or they just changed and switched because they have a new financial investor or investors? Has that come to fruition yet? Is that the reason why? Because look, you're going to say that all of a sudden they changed their thoughts, or they're using to manipulate President Trump's, let's just say, discussion about how he feels about certain things. Let me show you right now. Share this right now. Let's see if this is going to play. Yeah, see. Sound turns off in this. That's why I got to turn this back on. All right, so this is Joe Kent. Details the woke rights plan to potentially start a new party, and he's on Piers Morgan. Let's listen to this.
And you were in this picture. It was at Tucker Carlson's home. You're in there with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, Tucker. What was this? There is word that you're all planning, as Marjorie Taylor Greene put it, a new political movement. What is the movement? Could it be an actual party? What was going on?
Things are in the initial phases right now, but there is a growing consensus on, I think, both the right and the left, of people who are sick and tired of the Republican Party. They're sick and tired of the Democrat Party. They want us out of these foolish wars that we're just sitting here talking about right now. Most Americans have no idea what we're talking about. They don't know about Gaza. They don't know about the Straits of Hormuz. They just know that billions of their taxpayer dollars, their blood, their treasure, their sons and their daughters continue to get sent overseas. Our best and brightest get killed. Our taxpayer dollars get spent over there while things continue to decay here in America. And so what we're trying to do is just build a coalition of people who say we're finally going to put first. We're not going to focus on the next foreign war. We're not going to listen to foreign lobbies like the Israelis. We're going to focus on the issues that matter here to the American people. And those of us that were there at that table, myself.
So how many people think this new party that Joe Kent, MTG, Massey, Tucker, many other people, Persobic, that are actually, thank you, True Reporting. What's up, Tom? How you doing? Rating the channel now with 47 people. Thank you so much. Let me ask you something. Do you really think it's going to be a viable platform? So if it's going to split the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, in some way, what new party are they going to create? We know how independent parties really work. You think it's really going to give a run for the money? You think they're going to get people to sign up with this in some way to bifurcate the Republicans' opportunity to beat Democrat socialists? Is that their plan? Do they really want to do this in some way? Or are they going to try and, or will the people look at the Democrat socialists and say, they're too batshit crazy. We don't like the Republicans, but these guys seem okay. Yeah, the low T coalition party. Yep, DD. Yeah, it's very funny. Yes, very funny. What's up, Trump one? But that's the key. That's my point. So who does this really hurt in some way? Does this splinter the party, okay, in thirds? Or does this really pull from the Democrat socialists because only your batshit crazy Karen Wingnut, all right, are going to vote for these people? Full-on commie, full-on traitor, hates America, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to look at what? The other two parties, whoever this party is going to come about. And look, you only got, less than 80 days to create a new party. Is this going to come after the election or what? What's this new party? I think this is all hullabaloo. I think this is all fodder. I don't buy any of this stuff. And I think this is all puffery, so to speak. This is all bullshit. And all they're doing is selling a narrative, a lie that they can't fucking cover. And that's the bottom line. And that's what pisses me off and stuff. They're not serious. They're not serious at all. And you have to see through this. That's what bothers me the most. They're not serious about this whole thing. They're not being honest about this. And you're right. You don't have enough time to start another party. You don't have enough time to actually, what are you going to do? Were you going to whip up people to what? To not vote for this or vote for that? So if you're going to say don't vote for Republican, who are you going to vote for? Who's it going to be a third party? What's the name of this third party that you're creating? I don't buy any of this shit, and I think you shouldn't either. And I think what they're doing is they're dispelling the discussion left and right to convince you that there is something there, that they have something in tow, all right? Because it's going to be after the election. Is that what they're planning? Because there's not enough time to create another party within 80 days of what we're dealing with right now. Here's something else that I think was troubling that we have to hear. Oh, shit. Let me get that out of there. Okay. So Mick Mulvaney, he comes out. This is the chief of staff. I think this was the chief of staff from President Trump's first term, and he was on the COVID task force. Listen to what he says here. Apparently, Mick Mulvaney, I ran the COVID task force before Pence did, and he found out that Fauci was lying to me. Wow. Listen to this.
Before Mike Pence took over, when he told me to go on TV and tell people not to wear masks. And I did that. And then later on, years later, I found out that he was lying to me about the reasons for that. So there I was, the chief of staff, and our head infectious diseases expert was lying to me about masks. He lied to people about the 6-foot separation. He lied to a bunch of people on a bunch of different things. And I'm glad to see that at least some people are still trying to hold him accountable for that. I ran the COVID task force.
We're going to cover that. I got to get into a couple of things about that. But yes, are we going to cover that per se? Yes, I'm going to get into it. I want to discuss that because look, Fauci's pardon, okay, only covers federally. All right, states are already going to start to go after him. That's why you saw polls on Mediaite and Axios and other people saying, no, you should give him immunity. Immunity from who? States, so he could speak up. And what? Tell the truth that he's been lying the whole time? Why would you do that? He's already been pardoned. They wanted to cover his ass. Again, this is his golden god, all right? Because all the other people in Mediaite and CNN and all these other people were defending him still to this day because they have to go down with the ship together. And they don't want to in some way tip their hand and say, no, we shouldn't give him that. He should be able to this because you know what? They're also complicit, as RFK showed us yesterday, that CNN and many other people were towing this line. And you know what? even though whether they believed it or not, they still found a way to sell you the bullshit, to create this consternation, the separation in this country. Take the vax, all right? Or be dispatched with, or we'll put you in an internment camp. Yes, they were going to do that left and right. Yep, Florida AG is on it. I think Texas is looking into it. I saw Missouri and Missouri. And I think there's another state that's looking at going after him. And I said the possibility of class action lawsuits all the way through. You have to see what these other lawsuits are. How are you going to compel him to speak? Well, you get him from the grand jury. In a state, that's not going to be a problem because everything that he said that he did, that he was complicit of, that he pleaded the fifth for, now will be forwarded over, okay, as a requisite in some way that they'll be able to pick up the mantra and go after him and compel him to speak. He won't be able to do the Fifth Amendment again. But you know what? If he does that in the states, you're going to start to see this open up more. He'll be forced to testify in such a way because there's so much information that he'll have to defend himself against. And there'll be lawsuits upon lawsuits. And where does this end? Where does this end? This is what I'm saying. Why this type of fun has to happen. It's not just for January 6th. And the stolen election, what happened at the Capitol. It's not just COVID, okay, which affects all of us in some way and how we were personally affected about this. We were wrongfully damaged by the United States government, by people working inside the government to lie to us, to lie to the president, who's committed sedition and treason, by the way, all right? But yet, we still haven't determined that pardon, aforementioned, almost that goes back to 2014, to 2026 is viable. We haven't even heard that yet. Let's continue on because the idea of it moving forward will have to go where? To the Supreme Court because there's no ruling on that decision that pardons, okay, before a crime is committed that you're able to what? Aforementioned, be afforded one. That's the thing. How can you automatically, and I don't think that's what, the founders thought about. I mean, I don't think the legal experts look at this and say, well, that's part of it. Doesn't say that. It's the president's discretion. It doesn't say, oh, yeah, well, in case you commit a crime, we're just going to cover you. It doesn't give you blanket immunity. It doesn't even say that at all. But the idea, there are people saying, well, no, it's not. And I think that determination is going to go before the Supreme Court. Absolutely. Here it comes from And We Know. I see everybody from True Reporting coming in. Good to see everybody. Welcome in. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Let's hear your comments, questions, and concerns. You can support the platform any way you want. Let's move on. So Fauci's mandates forced American students to drop out. An American college student took an online math class during COVID. This is another part of what COVID did to our students going to college. Not just what? High school, middle school, all the kindergarten, all the other elementary. Look what it affected college students. So when it came time for a final, the professor made it mandatory and purpose required a COVID vaccine. She refused, got an F. She was forced to drop out because she didn't want to take a vax. So Fauci publicly supported and encouraged vaccine mandates for universities and college. See, this is where the lawsuit is. So she had to drop out. Think about if she had a loan and she got an F. Who's going to pay back that money? This is what happened when the left seized control of the education. And then what happened? What did Biden do? Biden's like, yeah, let's just pardon all the what? Let's just basically, we're going to cover all. So if you have a loan, student loan, yeah, we're just going to basically whitewash it away. That's what they tried, and it was shut down because this is part of the reason why. They know later on people will come back and sue them for what they did. No mandate should destroy a student's future. It was disgusting.
Fauci, let's talk about during COVID how I was almost about to graduate college.
Wow.
I had one semester left, and I was taking this math class. And the whole entire semester, I was online, and I was purposely online because I did not want to get the vaccine. So I was told if you take all online classes, you'll be fine. You don't have to get it. It comes time for my final, and my math teacher tells all of us that we have to take our final on campus. Now, I started emailing back and forth with my professor, telling them, hey, I don't understand this because this is an online class, and I was told that I wouldn't have to get the vaccine. And she tells me, well, that's too bad. You have to get the vaccine to be on campus, and we're taking the final on campus. So So I had to drop that class, and I dropped out of college and never went back. Yes, that's my COVID story.
I think a lot of people need to remember that it was actually Anthony Fauci who pushed these mandates for universities, which caused a lot of students to have to drop out. Was it Anthony Fauci who was involved in mandating the vaccine for universities? And the answer to that is yes. And he went on the mainstream media multiple times and said that schools should push these mandates. He went on MSNBC and he said that the federal government cannot issue these central mandates, but local mandates such as schools, teachers, universities, colleges, I think we're in such a serious situation now that under certain circumstances, mandates should be done. So it was absolutely Anthony Fauci who pushed for these mandates.
That's absolutely disgraceful. It is. Think about a lot of people that were forced. Hey, look, I got a student loan. If I fail this class, I'm screwed. Or like in this case, this person was graduating. And it was an online course for said reason that you didn't have to be in class because of the 6 feet rule and the non-vaccination. But these schools did it anyway. They were still had no problem taking your money, kicking you out, failing you. What a fucking great disgrace. I mean, this is the whole point of what I'm saying about Fauci in general. It's not over for him because you're going to have people with individual states, individual communities all going after him in some way. And I still think there's going to be class action lawsuits all over because you know what? He has to pay a high price. You can't just walk away saying, all right, that's it and done. Yes, states will have to go. Well, all it takes is one. Once one state has him by the short and curlies, then you could start to see this downward spiral, this slippery slope of where this is all going to go. And you know what? Whatever money he's got, this guy's going to die broke. All right? This guy's he's basically going to declare bankruptcy after the first thing so he doesn't allocate funds left and right. But it doesn't matter. Are we going to go after him criminal or civilly or both? Darlo gifted the cam. Those jumping ship are just as batshit crazy as lefties. Absolutely. They're all batshit crazy. The idea in some way that you're going to create a third party, and that third party is going to consist of the people of said people I said, Massey, MTG, and Tucker. And those are the people that you're going to say that, hey, look, so I got these three choices. Vote for this party that they represent, whatever the fuck that is, all right? Because we yet to seen it, all right? Because you don't like the big bad Republicans and you don't like Daddy Trump because he's starting boo-hoo wars in some way, which is not the case. But I digress. Or you want to deal with the communists. We can get free groceries. See, the point being, all right, where are they going with this? This is all blather. They are not really serious about this. They are just creating the separation. They are increasing the divide. And all they're doing right now is annoying the fuck out of me and you. And you know what? Pissing people off and saying, you know what? Shut the fuck up and go away. Or maybe they should be outed for who they're being paid from. I'm sick of this shit. Enough already. You had your moment in the sun. You had some good talking points about what you talked about at AIPAC, or you talked about this, or you talked about that, your Israel problem. We get it. We understand it. I could process it. But enough's enough. We're less than 80-something days away from the election, the midterms, and a lot of people think it's not going to go well. I disagree. I think it's going to be totally different than we're understanding at the moment for a variety of reasons. All right, let me show you this. This hit home, and this is for all you people who stand tall like me that are what? Not vaccinated, who basically said, fuck you. I did. Fuck you to all of it. I didn't, fuck that. When it was like family issues, friends, people like this, I didn't fucking cut all that fat out. Okay? Just like I'm cutting up a fucking steak or a chuck roast, I trimmed that fat right out. Threw it right out the window. I said, fuck you. Fuck all you. What? You don't want to come for dinner and stuff because you're not vaccinated? Blah. Fuck you. I'll never come there for dinner. How about that? You cook your own fucking food. Man, those times were the most angriest times I've ever been in my life. I just didn't care anymore. I basically was just like, fuck you. I would tell people to go fuck off. Whether it was anywhere wearing a fucking stupid ripped t-shirt with blood on it to piss people off, acting like a zombie. I hated these motherfuckers every single day. The doctors Oh, can't go to a doctor? No problem. Oh, you either got to bring a mask or you got to be vaccinated. No, neither. Fuck off. And those are the people I hate the most. That's why I like the idea with the teledoc, because you didn't have to see them. You do a video conference and that's it. Oh, my balls hurt. Give me some pills. All right? I got some itchy in my ass. Give me some fucking medicine. You know, I'm serious. Well, I mean, what's the difference of doing teledoc or going actually to see a doctor? You know? At that point. But that's what they put us into. That's what they did. And that's what makes me sick and mad. Because think about all the people who had to push back. Serious ailments and conditions because of this stuff. And they kept away the what? The treatments and the cures. And it never ends. But yet, we stand tall. We stand tall.
Canada News, I'm Brad Wilder. As we continue to wait and hope that more and more people wake up every single day, some that took the bait are now starting to realize that we, the COVID unvaccinated, weren't all wrong. This is that message to you, the unvaccinated. Even if I were pollinated and fully vaccinated, I would admire the unvaccinated for withstanding the greatest pressure I've ever seen. From partners, parents, children, friends, colleagues, and even doctors. People who are capable of such personality, courage, and critical ability are undoubtedly the best part of humanity. They are everywhere.
That's
in
you.
all ages, levels of education, states, and ideas. They are of a special kind. They are the soldiers that every army of light wants to have in its ranks. They are the parent that every child wants to have, and the children that every parent dreams of having. They are beings above the average of their societies. They are the essence of the people who have built all cultures and conquered horizons. They are there, next to you. They look normal, but they are superheroes. They
Hear
did
that?
what
We're
others could not.
superheroes.
They were the tree that withstood the hurricane of insults, discrimination, and social exclusion.
Yep.
And they did it because they thought they were alone. And they believed that, well, they were the only ones. Banned from their families' tables at Christmas, they never saw anything so cruel. They lost their jobs, let their careers sink, had no more money, but they didn't care. They suffered immeasurable discrimination, denunciation, betrayal, and humiliation, but they kept on going. Never before in humanity has there been such a casting. Now, we all know who are the best on the planet Earth. Men, women, young, old, rich, poor, of all races or religions, the unvaccinated, the chosen of the invisible ark, the only ones who managed to resist when everything collapsed. That's you. You passed an unimaginable test that many of the toughest Marines, commandos, Green Berets, astronauts, and even geniuses could not withstand. You are made of the stuff of the greatest who ever lived. Those heroes born among ordinary men who glow in the dark. Remember, you're the voice. It's time to make it count.
Wow. That's pretty impactful. I love it. That's great. You don't really hear that too much, speaking in that matter, but that's fantastic. I mean, that's all you. That's everybody in the chat who basically withstood the bullshit, that pushed back against the noise. All right. That was kicked away from your family. You were excluded because you were different. You chose to stand up, not to take this bullshit anymore. Yeah. I didn't get sick. I smoked cigars and I drank scotch. I was fine. I was fine. And the day I did get sick, that was like out of the time window between 20 and 22. I ended up getting like what's that? Like a sinus infection that went into the chest. Took some antibiotics for 5 days and some steroids. Gone in 3. That's it. Nothing lingering. Just tell the doctor, I saw you Trump won. Yeah, I did the teledoc thing, and that's what the guy did. He gave me some cough pills and stuff. Yeah, I know. The first time we did the teledoc thing, they charged us. Yeah, and you had to get that back. So I know that you guys had to do that. That's terrible. I know. That's why you tell them, you got a chest cold, you got a flu, you're spitting up stuff. You make it more that way. All right. You don't You don't let them start like getting into your head of what you feel and what you have in some way. You know, that's the problem. That's the problem in general that we face. All right, moving on. All right, I got to get to the main stuff because I'm running out of time. All right, let me fast forward this. Yeah, let's see. Oh, actually, we didn't hear this. Yeah, I want to continue on with this. Yeah, this was today. This was on Fox News today. Shocking. This is Dawn Michael here. It says, shocking, RFK dropped live on national team. Lyme disease, the number one killer of American kids is RSV. COVID-19, all of them came from the gain of function. His exact words. Listen to this.
Lyme disease that almost certainly came from these experiments that is now devastating our country. RSV that came from a laboratory, which is now the biggest killer of children in our country. And of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, which was a trauma for the whole globe. And all of those have been linked credibly to gain of function research. So it's...
Yeah, Super D. You know what the number one antibiotic was? Was Bactrim, sulfa. There was sulfaset and sulfa. And I'm allergic to that. And I would have took that right away. But Bactrim and sulfa were the number one. They're like these giant metallic horse pills. And I've taken them before I got a reaction to them. But they're a giant and they work. They're great. Sinus infection gone in like 2 days. They were powerful drugs. And they do work. And they kept that away. And then they reinstituted it. I remember that because I was going through the gamut. I'm like, well, the guy's like, you're allergic to sulfa. And I'm like, yeah, give it to me. I don't fucking care. I'll take it. And he's like, no. He's like, I think they pulled that. I go, what do you mean they pulled that? Well, you can't get that. See, they were doing all this shady shit in so many ways. They knew that worked too, but they didn't tell you. And even RFK talked about that.
Something that with enormous cost and no proven benefits. Lyme disease that almost...
Wow. That's just gain of function. Think about all the stuff, the tick stuff, all the stuff regarding that, all the tick stuff, all the stuff regarding everything that has been created, Zika, you name all the diseases that are out there. All right. Measles, mumps, they created that shit too. All right. They created that shit too. Why do you think you have a vaccine for them? All right. They created that stuff too. Rubella. I mean, come on. All these different things that could have been easily what? Taken care of. All right, let me just show you this. And this is why I said, hold on to the Fauci thing, because I do believe Fauci is going to be what? He's gonna face justice. He is in some way. The states are going to go after him, and he can't hide. And we're also going to get probably the Justice Department or other people to challenge said pardons in such a way. Not because of anything else. It's because of the fact is that a pardon is given after, not before you commit a crime. All right? Not like this Minority Report. We got to snatch you up before you commit a crime. And that's what it leads to. Can a president issue a pardon without identifying a specific scenario of federal offense? Listen to this. This is interesting.
President the power to grant pardons for offenses against the United States. But here's the question. Can a president issue a pardon when no specific offense has been identified? The Constitution doesn't expressly answer that, nor has the Supreme Court squarely decided that question. That's where the constitutional debate begins. One side argues the president's pardon power is broad enough to forgive any federal offenses committed during a covered period. The other argues the Constitution authorizes pardons for offenses, not generalized immunity untethered to any identified offense. That question has never been squarely answered by the Supreme Court. And until it is, the constitutional boundaries of the presidential pardon power remain an open question. My friends, we are all anonymous.
So we'll find out. We'll see what's going to happen. I believe that you'll probably see maybe even state AGs challenge that in to the Supreme Court. You'll probably see lawsuits in that manner. Oh, let me get out of this. In some way, maybe you'll start to see certain different developments happen where other aides say, wait a minute, let's peel back this pardon thing. Let's examine this and see how much protection does he really have? I mean, we don't know. We don't know, and we don't know where that's going in some way. Here it is. Here's another thing regarding the pardon thing. This is what I'm saying. This is all coming undone for Fauci. And I think a lot of people are now starting to look at this and say, wait a minute, we can't let this guy off the hook. All right. So it is. The pardon doesn't protect Fauci at state levels, but a lot of people already know that.
And they've now announced investigations into Dr. Fauci. Former President Joe Biden granted Fauci that pardon before he left the White House, but it didn't protect him from this. Here's Governor Ron DeSantis.
This is a guy that was drinking his own Kool-Aid. He was venerated by the media. I think he liked the fact that he had a lot of this informal power when he was issuing these recommendations and telling governors and mayors to do some of the draconian things that were actually done. It had a really negative effect on a lot of societies throughout this country. You had businesses reeling, people's liberties.
Wow. I mean, look, I just think that you're probably going to see a challenge in some way. There are probably going to be people that are going to be challenging it at the state level all over. And I think you might even see it possibly with the new AG. Thank you, Thea, for the 400 gold pills. Darla for the can and another can. We are a mighty force against evil, pure blood, and unapologetic. You know, that's another good point. You bring up, a lot of people keep asking me about the pure blood thing. I told you a long time ago when I was living down south that, you know, the blood trucks come by and they asked you if you're vaccinated or not. And I said, no. All right. And they're asking for, they were at the time, it's like $100 for your blood. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to give you my blood. I just say, you know what, if my blood is worth $100, it's probably worth 10 times that today. And think about that. If you have to get a transfusion, God forbid, what does that say? Darla, gift of the can. I want reparations for PTSD during COVID. I'm proud to be a racist. Stop stealing my taxes and get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Thank you for the can. Those jumping ship are the batshit crazy. I'm just sick of it too. I want it too. I want some reparations. I want some restitution of damage. I want something for the shit I had to deal with. All right. I think we all experienced horrible things, all of us that went through. Yeah, Alita had measles. Yeah, I had chickenpox twice. I had the other one too, that other form that I got on my back and then it went away. And then I took ivermectin and I never got it again. And it was just gone. It disappeared. It was like done. All right, let's move on. Let's get into so President Trump. So listen to this. So we got some time. All right, let's cover this. Let's get into this right now. Let's fast forward this. Let's get into other subjects that I want to discuss because there's new topics that we need to really get. Yeah, shingles. I had a form of it. Took ivermectin, gone. I never had chickenpox. I had twice. I had it in later stages, like in my 30s. And I think the doctor said that part of that reason that the shingles came in was just lightly on my back. And then I took ivermectin. I took ivermectin multiple times and it was gone. And I never had it again. And there are a lot of other issues with ivermectin I've taken. And it works for a lot of different things. Believe me, it does. And it's fantastic. And to get your hands on it, you can go to allfamilypharmacy.com. I'm not familiar with them. That's out of Boca. You can easily go buy it there. You can buy it in many places. The Wellness Company. Go get some. All right. Even the horse paste worked. I don't care what anybody says. I took it. All right. I took it when that was like you couldn't get anything. Didn't bother me. Didn't affect me. All right. I didn't die. I didn't swell up. I didn't have any problems. In fact, I felt great after it. That's it. So that's the bottom line. But you do what you do. So Shell CEO warns that there's not enough gasoline and diesel. So there's an ongoing push right now to promote this, that there's this whole type of argument that we're seeing that we're running out of gas and diesel. So in an interview with CNBC shared that since the beginning of Iran war, refineries have maximized production of jet fuel due to the fact that it's tripled in price since the beginning of the conflict. However, Sawan noted that this pivot comes at the cost. The cost is that there's a shortage of gasoline and diesel. How interesting. He said when Iran war was disrupted Middle Eastern jet fuel exports, aviation fuels spiked. Refineries globally, including Shell's, responded rationally to markets. That maximized production, the highest priced product. Shell increased its jet fuel production by approximately 20%. So diesel is disappearing. It's becoming expensive and it's hard to get. The 20% jet fuel addition came in a direct course. So what they're saying is now we hear in Great Britain, there's a lot of fuel shortages over there. And if we're not going to be able to get diesel, they're refining this as a secondary option. But as jet fuel shortage eased and aviation activity normalized, the diesel and gasoline deficit that accumulated during the pivot is now showing up in the product markets. So there's a push right now that people are saying on X warn Americans to be prepared for the worst, that they're signaling in some way that we're going to get a Dieselgeddon, okay, an Armageddon with diesel. Shell CEO Wallace Wan warned there's not enough diesel to go around much longer. That's interesting. All right. That is interesting. Chevron CEO Mike Wirth warned of every real danger for global oil industry as tensions escalate in Iran and Houthi attacks on Saudi oil facilities, fuel concerns over a potential new shipping crisis. Now, you have to ask yourself, so you got these companies coming out and saying this, all right, are they doing this on purpose? You have to consider what's the rationale that they're doing this? Are they doing this for their own benefit, their own sake in some way? Or are they doing this to undercut Trump's administration because of the Iran war? Is this a political thing? Is this really happening? I'm going to show you this because you had a couple of people discussing this. You had the CEO of Chevron. He was on Maria Bartiromo saying this. Yesterday morning, Maria touting his company's great numbers without mentioning all this thanks for the Trump administration.
Production and record U.S. refinery throughput. We had assets around the world that ran at or near full capacity. We set a production record in the U.S. at nearly 2.1.
But wait a minute. I thought we're having a deficit. I thought that the diesel and gas, okay, we're going into some type of diesel Armageddon, a gas shortage. But gas prices rising in conflict, they're doing well. They got no problem benefiting off of hedging their bets about their stocks and their futures about charging us $4 or $5 for fucking gas. But yet, now you're starting to see who these people are. All right. So it's not President Trump. It's these fucking what? And I said to you yesterday when we were talking about DARPA and that woman that goes on Joe Rogan saying, do you think it's 5 or 6 of the biggest companies that are more powerful than anybody on the planet? Well, if these companies like Chevron and Shell, okay, make the world go around in some way, because let's face it, everybody's addicted to petroleum, gas, oil, what have you. All right. How are you going to say that the big tech with the AI companies, they really control the world? That's not neither here or there. These are the bastards right now that affect you directly every day that we talk about. It's not President Trump. It's not the war in Iran. It's them. All right. And the idea that they don't even come to what? Pay him homage for him setting him up for opportunities in Iraq and what? Venezuela for new viabilities, new possibilities. All right. So they can get away from Iran. And listen to this cocksucker.
Million barrels of oil equivalent per day. We had record refinery throughput with runs greater than 1 million barrels a day, an all-time high here in the U.S. and several refineries set all-time records. All of that critically important at a time when the world energy system has been stressed and the need for supplies to markets and customers has never been higher.
One of the highlights, obviously, was much higher oil prices. And Mike, that's because of this war in Iran. And I want to get your take on that because the last time we spoke, there was serious worries about security, about ships transporting through the Strait of Hormuz.
Our production was up 20% year on year, 5% just since the first quarter to the second quarter. So we have been investing to grow production and bring energy to the market. The issues associated with the conflict in the Strait continue, and there are new developments each and every day. We now see not only the Strait of Hormuz, but the Red Sea and the Black Sea have risks and uncertainties. So some of the challenges have expanded, and the risks to supply are very real. We've seen demand in the world remain pretty strong, and China is perhaps the unexpected part of the story in that they've been able to reduce their crude purchases, which has taken a little bit of the pressure off the demand side of the equation as supply has had these challenges and these risks. And so inventories have been drawn down around the world, whether it's strategic stocks or commercial stocks, and the situation remains somewhat fragile and uncertain.
Well,
so they're hedging their bets that the prices will stay where it is because they got to continue on the fear porn poison pill that they have to showcase in some way that there is a glut. All right. Not a glut, that there is a shortage Okay. And that shortage is continually getting worse. Okay. Especially with diesel and gas. And they're utilizing this argument, all right, to say this is all because of the Strait of Hormuz. This is all because of what's happening in Iran per se. And we're seeing what the proxy state is. We understand the Bank of London washes all their money away. We understand who this captured state is, that they work with the CCP in China to help facilitate and control their empire. And the reason the machinations that we're going through, when all these other companies have inroads other places where they're probably going to dip out from Iran, they may not like it, but they're uncomfortable about expressing it and basically saying anything positive about President Trump. And it's a damn shame that we can't get honesty about these people. But to me, until we get free energy or something like that, these bastards, they make me sick. This is the problem we face. We're still stuck in the 21st century on this this black gold, so to speak. We just can't get away from it. All right. And this is the why. And this is why every situation, it's not about the wars and here and about that. This is the number one issue. The economy. No, everything else is secondary and tertiary when it comes to wars. Are there going to be boots on the ground? What's it going to be like in some way? But this had to be dealt with in some way. But they don't want to tell Maria. They don't want to say, hey, look, well, at least President Trump has given us an opportunity to go to other places now that we didn't have the viability to do before. And now the system right now remains fragile. And they're putting this all on him. They're all blaming themselves in a lot of different ways. And this is what they're saying. This is how they're actually utilizing their arguments to undercut the administration in some way. And also, I think scare the shit out of a lot of people. I'm not entirely sure that is the case, that we have this type of dire needs. Now, we understand what's going on with the scare attempts, with what's happening with the water treatment plants and water facilities and all these other scenarios coming in. Now you're starting to see the infrastructure of things fracture a little bit. That's where the fear is coming. That's where the poison pill is happening right now that everybody's reporting about. And they continue on spreading that lie, that narrative to scare you in this. Oh, we got it. And that's what it is, to attack President Trump. President Trump's got to stop the war. President Trump. No one wants the war to continue on. But again, ask yourself this. Do you want a quick military win, or do you want a messy long-term deal that keeps the oil flowing? Which one is it? Which one is it? I mean, that's where we are right now. I mean, has this weekend changed how you feel about the U.S. involvement in the Middle East? Are you more hawkish? Are you more isolationist? Have you jumped ship? Are you still the same? Has it changed any of your perspectives today? I consider that as we move on. President Trump says traitors leaked his Iran strike plans, which gave the enemies a heads up. Leakers should be put in jail. So apparently, he's referencing probably someone in his orbit leaking it to the media and discussing this. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. To negotiate. What is your message to the American people who are wondering what has changed this time? Why should it be different? Well, you don't know. I don't know. I think we're going to maybe get something.
It's muted. Oh, Christ almighty. It's muted. You guys keep saying it's muted. Oh, fuck, man. Bafago. It's this new fucking thing they do. All right, let's try it again. This should not be muted. All right, here we go.
And this is at least the 5th time you've turned off airstrikes against Iran since April to negotiate. What is your message to the American people?
I can't do anything about the volumes. This is where they're recorded.
Well, you don't know. I don't know. I think we're going to maybe get something, but I want to give them every last chance before decapitation. Very tough to do what we have planned, still planned. We'll see what happens, but it's a very, very tough thing to do. I think I'm very proud of the fact that I'll give people a chance. This is a big move. To do an attack that big on a country, I'd rather not do it. Now, we've already, through lots of large attacks, but they were normal large. Hopefully they'll come to their senses, because what happened cannot have a nuclear weapon, but hopefully they'll come to their senses. So they called me And they said, please don't attack. We'll make a deal. That's the real truth. And everyone knows it. And who wouldn't call? And they found out through leaks and sleaze bags, a lot of sleaze bags, leakers. Leakers should be put in jail. They have to strengthen up the laws for leakers. But in this case, leakers helped because they said the severity of the attack, and Iran knew it. They knew what was coming. It was going to come last night, and it would have gone on for a long time, and there'd be essentially very little left. There'd be nothing left. And if I'm given a chance to let a lot of people live, I want to give that chance. So I'm under no time constraint. I don't happen to be running, but a lot of very good Republicans are running.
And that's the bottom line. That's what I saw an article, an American Thinker, American Spectator put this out in a lot of ways. That's what this is all about. They feel that President Trump is toxic to their campaigns, to the election this year in so many different ways. Can you believe that? When he's got a 98%, 99%, every time that he puts his hand to nominate someone to take over a position, they win. And now they're running scared because of this. They're complaining that, look, the bottom line is that we're not going to be able to solve this crisis before the election. All right. The question is, will there be a deal in place or something else, or this will just continue on? I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody knows. And I think that a lot of people are putting pressure on the administration and are trying to do damage control in so many different ways. And that's why you start to see this America First party that's they're trying to start up. And this is all what? To tear down MAGA, to attack, to divide, and undercut the administration from every facet they can. And this is the argument. This is what this is about. Yeah. No one likes the war. No one likes all this stuff. But look, it's happening. Okay. All right. It ain't going to stop tomorrow. We don't know what's going to take place. We don't know what the fallout's going to be, what the turnout's going to be. A lot of people are throwing anything they can to stick at the wall like pasta. They're saying there's going to be a draft. There's going to be a shortage of oil. Well, Iran is attacking all our infrastructure and cybersecurity and all this other stuff. They're doing everything they can in some way to undercut the administration. Actually, in some way, they want us to lose in some way. That's why those narratives were going on for months. Lose, lose, lose. And that's what's disgraceful. So there are many people inside this country that want to see that and put that agitprop out there, and they continue on selling that narrative. We're going to lose the war. We're going to lose the war. And every way that they can conspire against to get you to believe that it's over and that we're done and that we're finished and that he's failed. That's what they're doing. That's what the leakers are doing. That's what they're trying to sell. And, again, we don't have a good eye of what's really taking place behind the scenes. We don't know what's happening. We don't know if we took Cargill. We don't know if they already surrendered. All right. It's like the Ukraine war. Okay. You just hear that people are, dying. There's drones everywhere, missiles being shot, but you don't see anything. There was a couple of days ago in Moscow, there was a suicide bomber there. It was a female, apparently. That's what I was reading. Super D, thank you for the can. Hogleg 71, thank you for the can and the cookie. Thank you, sir. Darlo, give him the can. We're about to dominate in the oil industry. Yeah, thank you, Theo, for the cookie. That's my point. Again, so you had these CEOs of these companies that are going on there saying, well, we're dealing with this and we're dealing with this crisis. Meanwhile, they're making money hand over fist because the profit margin's gone up. And they're being squeezed, and they're saying, well, our quarter here and a quarter here are good. And that's why the prices are at this point. All right. And the futures are where they are because we don't see any end in sight about the war. They're not thanking President Trump for what? Helping fix their problems in other ways. But they're going out there and clamoring and making assertions that we are in a shortage and that on the horizon, we're going to have a problem. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But I'm starting to see that as more of that fear point, that poison that they're disseminating out there. All right, let's continue on. So here's President Trump today in the White House, in the Oval Office. They better bring those gas prices down, he says. Meanwhile, you saw what you just saw with what I showed you about CEOs of companies, Chevron and Shell, making their assertions that prices will stay fixated and the futures will look like this because of the war. And they're using that as a scapegoat, and that's why Trump comes back out with this.
Okay. Based on a shortage, they're making too much money. I don't like it. And I should be the last one to say
based on a shortage, they're making too much money.
Nobody bigger. And, you know, you're going to see oil when we're finished with Iran, you're going to see the prices drop through the floor. But they made too much money. Too much money. Chevron, too much money.
Specifically calls out Chevron.
ExxonMobil, too much money. When you look at one company where they made 12 times what they made the year before, they're going to give some of that back to the public. And they better cut the retail price, the consumer price. Too much money. You surprised I'm saying it? I'll say it loud and clear. I'm not happy about it. Go ahead.
So what's going to happen from that? What do you think is going to happen in some way? He's making a point of letting everybody know they made 12 times the money they did last year. 12 times. And then they go out there and saying, scaring the bejesus out of it, the reason why we have to keep the prices at this point, because we're in a shortage. Can you believe the hubris? The arrogance. Fucking oil company. You want to talk the worst groups of people on the planet? It's them. It's them. It's the oil and gas industry. Garbage, garbage, garbage. I was hoping one day we get some free energy in here, but this is the reason why we're in these predicaments. Okay. Until we become our own, let's just say, engine. Okay. Instead of just, we control all the oil and the gas and stuff where almost we don't need it anymore. And we'll have to release new energy and new technology for the world. Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be fantastic. So, I mean, look, I'm not really sure what he's planning on doing, what he's thinking about doing. But in some way, something has to give way because, look, you can't continue on blaming the war and then calling a shortage because of the war, and then that you're driving up the prices and you made 12 times that a year before. We all see through that. It is such a load of crap, and I'm sick of them. All right, let's move on. Let's get into the guy with two first names. Okay, I don't like a person with two first names per se, but I definitely don't trust this weasel. I can't stand this guy, and a lot of people are starting to dunk on his ass. Apparently, right now, Mediaite puts out, everyone agrees he sucks donkey butt. Trump White House staff reportedly frustrated with the Department of Homeland Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. Yep. With one Homeland Security Secretary already been in exile for President Trump's White House, a new political story reveals the second one is very much on fire. And look, you had Bannon come out, and not a Bannon guy, but he's like, put Pulte in there. Why not? Why not? I mean, can he do any worse? Look what he did at DNI. You know what I'm saying? And the transition went through today. So the new DNI director's in there. So according to Monday Political's playbook, Mark Wayne Mullen is facing a revolt, not just from outspoken MAGA influencers, but within the administration. He is in deep shit. His interview he had the other day, man, when you start mentioning amnesty, it's done for you, buddy. And I don't care if that came from the talking points inside the administration, which I don't believe, all right, because I don't believe Stephen Miller believes in amnesty. And he is the special advisor to the president. The guy up there is saying, no, we got to get these people out of here. I don't buy this one shit. This comes from this rotten, corrupt agency. That's what it is. This relic of 9/11. When is this agency going to go by this bloated, bureaucratic garbage? Mullen's appearance in the National Governors Association this summer meeting in Oklahoma City on Saturday that we discussed yesterday sparked rage on levels. First, the secretary's position on amnesty for migrants was seen as far too soft. Yep. And if we're looking to grow our economy, we need more permanent solutions on work visas because this narrative that it steals American jobs is true in some industries. It's not true for all industries. Mullen said he added in America, it's America. We want to take care of Americans first. Do you? It's our economy. It's our homeland. He mentioned almost 1 million fucking naturalization citizens that go through last year. Almost 1 million. I think he quoted like 900,000 plus. We need a moratorium. We have how many people in this country illegally? But you want to naturalize more fucking people, okay? And what are these people? What's the demographics of these people? Are they white? Are they Christian? See, we don't get to see that. Same way you don't get to see the numbers that are skewed by states, by illegal, criminal, alien scum that rob, rape, and kill you. They just put it down as a homicide or a murder or this or that or a drunk driving accident. And then what they do is they fill in the blank and say, oh, that person was white. That's how you don't know anything that's going on. Brett, do you think DJT put people in the spotlight, perhaps to expose? Of course, he does that all the time. Look, I don't know what happened with Puro today. Apparently, she showed up at the White House after he called her out and said she choked. I don't know if he fired her. I don't know what's going to happen regarding the pool and the vandalism that went on there. Did she choke? I don't know. We're going to have to find out about what happened with that and her meeting. And we're looking to grow our economy, and he's friends with her too. He's known her forever. Doesn't mean he won't fire her. All right, but it is what it is. Those comments were ripped by immigration headlines. Mullen is the wrong guy at the wrong time for the wrong job. And at the time, we need to focus on mass deportations. Amnesty, we get an amnesty advocate? Exactly. That should not be in your vocabulary. No one should have that in your lexicon. Sorry. And Bannon told Political, he's right. Mullen tried to clean up his comments on X shortly after the speech, but he got crushed. No amnesty for illegal aliens. No. If you're living in this country 20 years illegally, okay? Illegally, and you have a legal driver's license, illegal driver's license, an illegal social security card, illegal, and then you're renting or owning a home illegally, driving a car illegally because you don't have a proper license. Who gave you these things? You are illegal. There is nothing about you that is real. You are a fraud. The very essence of what? That being illegal, criminally trespassing, and continuing on with this fraud. I mean, I don't understand why that's so hard to that's a bigger problem than all these other fucking crazies that are out there shooting and killing and raping and stuff. Yeah, they're a problem you got to deal with immediately. But you can't take your eye off this and say, well, they've been here 20 years. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And on Friday, Politico reported that Mullen enjoys a spiritually chummy relationship with another notable Democrat, Josh Shapiro. And there you go. He's a people pleaser. And that doesn't work when you're a cabinet official. The unnamed White House official told Politico. My God. Yeah. It's just the Department of Homeland Security is just garbage. Okay. And it doesn't matter who you put in there. You know, it's corruptible. It's corrupt from top to bottom. Here's something. Let's play this. And we'll get to my last discussion. And right now, I'm just going to jump up. I want to show you this. Interesting that they do that. See, they turn off the sound purposely. All right, so let's listen to this. This comes from Tommy Lahren. Mass deportations, no amnesty. And now listen to the pushback on Fox News.
The response I've been getting a lot on social media is, well, but if we don't hire cheap illegal alien labor, our prices are going to go up. My response to that would be, and I'm curious your take, prices are going up. It would seem to be that even though we have cheap illegal alien labor in this country, it doesn't seem to be really helping our prices. And I guess they say they'll go up even more, but something tells me there's more to the equation.
Yeah, I think the main problem here is the insinuation from Mark Wayne Mullen and from Pete Sessions last night that Americans are unwilling to do certain jobs.
Right.
My mother-in-law has worked in an automotive factory since she was 19. So has my father-in-law. My dad worked in an IKEA warehouse for nights, stacking bins just to make ends meet when we were growing up. The insinuation that Americans will not work hard is insulting. However, I will say, I think numbers also matter when we're talking about DHS's operations. Naturalizations are at their lowest level since Ronald Reagan. We reached a record high of arrests of illegal aliens in June and July. Under Mark Wayne Mullen, he has also significantly expanded our mass detention efforts, and also in a way that helps us avoid some of these harmful sanctuary policies.
Good.
So he is making good progress. Maybe he just needs to stop talking. I think that would be probably a good idea. However, I completely understand your concerns, because the fact of the matter is that Republicans and American voters in general have been betrayed every step of the way on this issue. So much so that you begin to expect it even from the people who are supposed to have your back. But good things are still happening. I would say don't blackpill because they are making progress. It's just much more incremental than I would like personally.
Yeah, and if you want these industries to hire Americans, look at Social Security reform, look at tort reform, look at reducing liability so they actually can afford to pay them a good wage.
Well, that's the point. I mean, yes, those are all good points, but you still have to deal with the elephant in the room, okay? You have to deal with the elephant in the room. All these people that have been here for years, okay, illegally obtained all their possessions from ill-gotten gains, okay? Fruit of the poisonous tree, so to speak. You got a fraudulent driver's license, fraudulent, you don't even have insurance. You don't have this, you don't have that. But you get all these things no matter what because the state grants it to you because they recognize you as a citizen when you're not. And the federal government says, no, you're not. I don't care how long you lived here. I mean, this whole thing is that there's squatters. Whatever happened to that? Looking at how we should treat these people, how we should consider who these people are. The idea that they're afforded some luxury because they were able to sneak in the back door, it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. And then a lot of these people are committing fraud. All right. I guess I'll do the last subject on that. And here comes Steve Bannon. And he came out today. And he says, Steve Bannon says MAGA supporters want Pulte to replace Mullen. Okay. I mean, I've heard this over the weekend. And yes, Mark Wayne Mullen needs to shut the fuck up. The less he does talk, okay, the better it is for him. But either way, I think that a lot of people are already soured on him. And they're not really seeing... we're not really seeing what's really taking place. Right-wing podcaster Steve Bannon is urging Trump supporters to back interim director Pulte over Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, escalating a backlash from parts of MAGA movement over Mullen's recent comment. MAGA wants President Trump to detail Pitbull Pulte on DHS. Mullen is the wrong guy at the wrong time for the wrong job. The criticism followed marks that Mullen made Saturday during the final day of the National Governors Association. Why was he even there? What was the purpose for him being there? That's the other thing I want to know. What was the reason? I mean, can you explain that you were there? And then you can't, and then you open your mouth and you say something to governors that some of them are like, oh yeah, because some of these rhino cucks want that. They want amnesty. They love that shit. I mean, look at Mike Lindell, the pillow biter. Well, as long as they're not committing crimes. See, that's that mentality. It's never going to go away. It's never going to be good enough. The real problem that we face right now internally is about how do we move forward with a mass exodus of removing these people from the country. If I don't care if you didn't commit a crime, the very essence of you being here right now is a crime. Hence the name. All right? You haven't gone through the proper channels. You haven't earned what you have. You haven't paid. You paid back taxes and stuff. If you don't have the money, I mean, think about all the people that are living here, that they're just skating under the rug. They're getting welfare, by the way. Think about that. I mean, that's just criminal in general. Okay, well, all right. You want to stay? Give us $1 million. Oh, you don't have $1 million? Then you got to get the fuck out of here. That's what it should be. We should be what? If you're living in this country, you're getting welfare, you're living off the tit, living off the hog in some way, well, you got to pony up. Okay. And then we'll give you what you want. But you don't have it because you're living on subsistence and you're getting away with what the rest of us have to pay for and live twice as hard, doubly hard to afford these things. And we do pay taxes. And these motherfuckers seem to get away with it, okay, because they're brown and black. Can't wait for the day. Can't wait. I hope Red October happens. I hope it happens. I want to sit there and drink my scotch, smoke my cigar, and watch this thing fucking blow up. I want to see these people go ahead and riot because they know they're going to lose the election and they're going to cause panic and chaos and they want to do another BLM. Go ahead. Let's do it. And the fact that they say we're too scared to really lay down the law with ICE and stuff. Wait till we start doing with the military. That's probably going to be the only way that we're going to be able to get more people out of this country faster, sooner, quicker. All right. Let's move on before I have a heart attack because I'm disgusted. I am. I am. I'm just disgusted because I figured that, all right, maybe we're going to get rid of all these people. We're going to move forward with getting rid of these people. But I just don't know if, if we have the fortitude, if we have the chops, the will to do what we need to do, in so many ways. I don't know if we have the will we need to do. Oh, speaking of this, all right, let me cover this one last thing. Okay. So we got to talk about the hero, the Good Samaritan. Got to talk about him. He's not a vigilante because vigilante, I'm saying, he's doing something that the law couldn't do. But in some, I would say in some way that this guy and what he did in the last 24 hours, whether it's a Good Samaritan, whether it's someone that's a hero, a citizen vigilante striking back to protect others. Yesterday was the first of the outlets that brought to you that looks like a good guy with guns sending bullets back to the other direction have saved countless lives in Idaho. We've actually come to learn it's not just the guy, but actually two heroes who sprung into action. In that report, we stated all the evidence suggested that one of the guys was a local man named Jordan Salinas. But we didn't have the final confirmation of the fact. Today we do. Jordan Salinas, the last 24 hours, has been overwhelming. I want to sincerely thank my family, friends, and everyone who's reached out with messages, prayers, and support. I haven't been able to respond to everyone yet, but please know I've seen your messages, and they mean more to me than I could put into words. In the coming days, I'll share a more complete account of what happened to the best of my recollection when I'm able. But for now, my heart remains with the victims, their families, and everyone affected by yesterday's tragedy. Thank you for continuing to keeping them in your thoughts and prayers, and thank you all for incredible support. So you're like, another man with a gun doing the right thing. Twin Falls, Idaho shooting hero Jordan Salinas speaking out as the entire nation praise him for saving lives and engaging shooter. The man is a hero, Good Samaritan. Like, more of these people need to come about. Now, whether you want to say they're not citizen vigilantes and stuff like that, because they go out there to protect people, not to exact vengeance for what the law and the courts couldn't do. Well, if these people got away, they would be classified as something else if you want to hunt these people down. What do you think bounty hunters are? I mean, seriously. But a good guy with a gun, Meet the Hero Internet is saying stop the Idaho Falls shooter. The new details, 3 people were killed. Several others were injured in a shooting at an In-N-Out burger restaurant in southern Idaho, and confirmed that at least one of those were killed at the restaurant. This is plenty enough evidence to suggest that the gent with the pistol stopped the threat. But I guess posting a good guy with a gun narrative will not be punished. I guess not. I mean, this is great. Sundown Desert Drill with suppressed FN 57 USG firing, Vanguard 55 GN FMG. I mean, this guy's obviously, he's an avid shooter. He's an avid, I don't think he hunts. I think the story behind him is that, he loves owning his gun. He likes to use it in a lot of different ways. This was not vengeance. Of course, it wasn't vengeance. That's not what I'm saying, Trusty Turnham. What I'm trying to say is that understand in some way that people like him are going to pop up more. Okay? And not in the sense of what we think as vengeance, but in the sense of what I always talk about. You're going to have to defend the people in your neighborhood, in your backyard. You're going to have to do these things. You're going to need more Good Samaritans. We don't hear more about this. He stopped a year-long investigation that led to nothing. 2 years ago, Jordan, the fearless patriot Salinas, posted on Facebook, train like your life depends on it because God forbid, one day it might happen. Wow. Amazing story that this guy did this and he saved these people. There's a lot more. We'll probably hear more about this guy's story. This is fantastic. I'm running out of time. But that's just great. It's awesome. And you know what? To see that people are out there, they care about their fellow brethren. They care about their fellow citizens in so many ways. And these stories are just fantastic. And there are more people out there. There are more people that believe that in a lot of ways. I mean, I have other feelings about other things. All right, let's get into the last part, this trans thing. I'm going to run through it easy peasy, real quickly. I'm going to show you the blaze. This one's a good one. All right, like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Comments, questions, concerns. Let's play this out. So the WNBA's message to young girls: stay quiet on trans athletes. It's much more pervasive than that. Whitlock goes into us a little bit. Let's play it.
In Climate Pledge, like, we always want to be an area where people feel welcome coming into this building. I think we've always done a really good job with that. So I know our organization was, working closely with Climate Pledge and with security to just make sure that, everybody feels safe and included and welcome when they walk in this door. And from what I understand, that was successful.
Yeah, that was successful. That's not contrition. They punished the woman and defended the culture that produced her in the same press release. And the actual leader in this story is the bench player they were fighting about, Sophie Cunningham. Listen to what Sophie Cunningham had to say. I truly believe there is a safe space and love for everybody. Biological girls, biological boys, trans women, trans men, everyone is welcome at my table. You can disagree and still be kind. To the girls, bravo for standing up for what you believe. To the owner, truly embarrassing. Unfortunately, shows the type of leader she is. So here's Sophie Cunningham, the most grace, the most backbone, and the most actual inclusivity in this whole story came from the role player the establishment is trying to bury, not the owner, not the league office, not one analyst at ESPN. This was never about a sign. It's about who that sign represents. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and the millions of normal heterosexual sports fans they dragged in to these arenas. This league resents the audience that legitimized it.
There's that fire. Grab your popcorn.
If this were an organic fan dust-up, the story writes itself. Owner behaves badly, owner gets punished, everybody moves on. That's not what happened. The whole media apparatus turned around and put the victim on trial. Same afternoon, Dan Le Batard's show. He asked with a straight face, are WNBA players being forced into politics? Play the clip.
Caitlin Clark is now a political figure, could not have thought of any of that in her dreams. Whatever her dreams were about being a basketball player, could not have imagined they're going to be talking about my technical fouls all the time. The amount of pressure and stress we are putting on all of these people in sports, not just, I don't want to make Caitlin Clark sound like a victim. It just sucks to see her reach her dreams and have it not feel good. Have sports feel super shitty when you're doing the things we all want sports to be when we're dreaming about it in the backyard.
I think the part that's unfair to her, to Angel Reese, to all of them, is that they become avatars in a proxy war between people who don't give a shit about their sport. Yeah. That's the big thing. If it were heated, like people say, LeBron or MJ, like at least when you talk about LeBron and MJ, even though it's a dumb argument, like, you know that the people arguing here actually watch basketball, actually care to say that LeBron is greater than Jordan or vice versa, right? When it comes to people arguing Caitlin Clark versus fill in the blank, like the majority of the combatants in this arena are people who don't really watch. They're like, oh, well, Caitlin Clark, or I heard that she's.
It doesn't let me go bigger on here.
It stands up for good American values. And so now I'm going to say, she's my favorite. Sophie Cunningham's my favorite player that averages less than 10 points a game, was a very nondescript role player in the WNBA, becomes this kind of lightning rod for people who don't watch women's basketball.
This is rich coming from the Le Batard show. I mean, it is really rich. I just sit here and think, oh, how did we get here? You know, they're forcing politics on all these players, and it's just unfair. And me and Dan used to be friends, good friends, and I still got affinity for Dan. But the lack of self-awareness here. You remember the show I did, or the shows we did, when Dan and those guys had Michelle Tafoya on, and I pointed out, like, hey, what are they doing to Michelle Tafoya? She's on to have a conversation about her new career, her transition off of Sunday Night Football. And these guys are the Mike Ryan guy who now, you know, he went all those years pretending to be Puerto Rican or Mexican or whatever, and then pretending to be a white guy. And then when 2020 happened, then it all of a sudden, hey, I'm Mike Ruiz. I'm not Mike Ryan, or whatever he did. He transitioned into a person of color because it was convenient and there was an advantage to it. That guy sitting on air trashing Michelle Tafoya while Dan Le Batard allowed it to happen. And it was all over politics. and we're wondering why Caitlin Clark is getting treated the way she's getting treated? Message. No, the millionaires on the floor, they're the victims now. Now, not the teenagers crying in the concourse. The WNBA is an explicitly political organization. People like Levitard and his show made the WNBA or helped them be an explicitly political organization. Now, Elle Duncan, she's over at Netflix. Now, she's jumped in. She's demanding that Caitlin Clark denounce her fans for what other adults did and for what USA Today wrote. Take a listen.
People who think they are her fans but are using her, if she would say, stop that shit, I don't want it. I'm tired of it. As opposed to what we've seen, which is the media makes up these narratives. The media makes up this discourse. That's not true. The media highlights the stories and they show it, but at the same time, like, the media did not make up that members of Congress are trying to get literal government intervention into whether you get fouled too hard. Like, this stuff has to stop.
I can only take so much Elle Duncan. She's nice, little, attractive eye candy that's been put way out over her skis. She's an idiot. Wow. Caitlin Clark has already on tape more than once, but never enough. On tape, she's already done the things Elle Duncan is demanding she do, because the denunciation has never been the point. Never. The sickest card in this deck, a mainstream outlet, USA Today, brought Emmett Till into any and all of this about Caitlin Clark, a 14-year-old boy who was murdered and lynched, and turning his murder into a club to racialize a fan base full of moms and daughters in fever jerseys. And now I got Elle Duncan and Dan Levitard preaching to me about what they did, what they participated in. Here's what the cameras won't show you. Sitting courtside, almost shoulder to shoulder with those two teenage girls, there's this older woman with her own pre-printed sign. No hate in these United States. A counter-protester planted, and yes, I'm using the word planted, in the same frame. Rebuttal already made, ready for the shot. Two kids thank an athlete, and there's a grown activist positioned right next to them with the comeback in hand. Spontaneous fan moments don't come staged like that. And let me question everything. This is like, this whole thing seems staged, including the two cute little teenage girls juxtaposed against this tatted up, angry, unattractive older woman. This is like a movie script. All of this stuff feels scripted. The media will run with the owner's apology all day. They will not show you that sign. They will not show you all the casting that was done here. The owner got punished, a 5-game suspension. She can't come back to the arena or game for 5 games. There's some sort of fine. But the coverage still pivoted to, why won't the Golden Goose? Why won't Caitlin Clark apologize for this? Okay, we're going to get out of that. Yeah, I'm reading your comments. Let's see. Darla, get the can. We should never let these people out of the closet. Of all kinds of problems, throw them back in, lock the doors. Yep. And I think there is something to what he's saying. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this guy, but I understand what he's saying. There is some type of level of theatrical, let's just say, masterpiece that is unfolding. There is definitely this type of woo-hooing in some way, but you're starting to see other things brew under it. Casey Snowman, 485, WNBA, Moster Dykes, yep, gay, black, retarded, are and some are men. Only maybe 2 are women that like men. Interesting. Wood USA, thank you for the 719 gold pills. Need more gold pill love. Support the stream. Thank you. Let's see who else. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right, they're flip-floppers. They target CC because she's white. Yeah, I get all that, but I'm going to get into it more because I'm going to tell you there's a bigger, I think, discussion that we need to have, and I'm going to show you a couple of things, and I'm going to explain it to you. Is Caitlin Clark a coward? Is she really scared? Does it matter? Why so much? Why so much attention on this black and gay retarded league that is clearly racist, that it clearly has a lot of questions about their players that look like women, but that are really men?
Yes. Are they hiding trans athletes in the WNBA? And will this rock the league? What legal implications could this lead to? You have the collective bargaining agreements that states only women, that doesn't define a woman, nor does it have a public what? Transgender policy. No hormone policy or a transition criteria. Does Title IX fit into here? Probably not, because this is, a legal contract in some way. But I think you have to look at this and understand there is something much more pervasive that is happening here, and it's far more uglier than we're seeing. And now these things are being exposed, and people are seeing what the hell is going on. And you know what? This giant spotlight on the WNBA could blow this thing wide open. Grant is a good example of the problem. Yep. Why would her divorce or his divorce matter? Why would it be fucking news in some ways? Most of the most insulting things Minnesota Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeves said was claiming that the two young girls who sat courtside in Seattle don't understand what the real problems are. Anila Wilson competed against biological boys, you buffoon. This is the pure bullying and gaslighting. This whole thing about this fucking coach, about the way they're acting in some way. Does it look rigged? Yeah. Does it look like it's a setup, a performance? Is this all performative? No, not all of it. I think what it is now you're starting to see the mask come off. You're starting to see that certain people are utilizing this in a political matter because they've been told behind the scenes to keep this quiet. How many of these head coaches and owners know that they have trans players in the WNBA? How many? And if it comes out that it does, it's over. You're going to have female lawsuits with the players that are females biologically. You're going to have fans protesting, maybe wanting to sue. Look at the uproar we had with keeping men out of women's sports. And now you have a league professionally hiding transition women as men playing against females. And then you're charging these prices at the WNBA. It's ugly. It's going to get ugly. It's only going to explode. And if it comes out, even if you got one player, one's enough to really put the kibosh on it. Because now you're going to go into an exploratory expedition to find out. And look, people are going to go what? They're going to go batshit crazy. You might even see boycotts. You're going to see commercials. Now you'll see that group of people, they're supporting it and touting it in some way. But then you're going to see the backlash. And the backlash might crush the WNBA because of all of what they've done. All because of these idiots, these people, these recalcitrants, these people who have, let's just say, no desire of caring about what you think and I think in some way. But they want to what? Attack young girls for speaking up because they look at certain people as heroes. They look at them as people that are defending positions that they stand by, that they were persecuted. Okay. At another point, trans men as women, Brett, DNA doesn't lie. Yeah, that's the point. That's what I'm saying. It only gets worse for the WNBA. You need to understand where I'm going with this. The legal problems they could face, this organization could face, if they are hiding and knowingly know that there are men playing as women in the WNBA, it's going to get ugly. It will get ugly. I promise you that.
Sitting at games with anti-trans signs, do they understand actually what the real problems are and how they're being marginalized? We're still not in a space where we have equality. These young girls that are sitting at
but we
games
still have equality. So how is it that have trans men playing female sports? Okay. How is it that trans men as women playing in female sports, okay, is equality? This whole thing, I can't wait for this to blow up. I cannot wait. I'm so sick and tired about hearing about the WNBA, Caitlin Clark. I'm tired about like what's going on in general. We know it's racist. We know there's a lot of lesbos in there. It's all retarded. Some of these people can't even fucking play, and they're making a lot of money, and it's disgraceful. Because I can tell you right now, you put up the best college champion teams of men, even high school teams. As Clay Travis said, I'll pay $10 million to a state championship of high school or even college that would beat the shit out of these fucking quote unquote females any day. That shows you in general how garbage it is. And that will prove the point of what it is. Yeah, not equality. They call it equity. Exactly, Aloha Mom. Exactly. And here we are. Is she a coward? Is Caitlin Clark a coward, or is she just scared? Let's play it.
I think for us, like, you know, it's not really a discussion we really have in our locker room. I think it's for leagues and the governing bodies to work with their athletes.
What is she reading, scripts?
But our focus is on basketball, and that's what we talk about and how we can get wins. And obviously we didn't do that tonight, so need to find an area to improve in that way.
Do you have any, reaction to the...
I just answered for you.
All right. We'll go over to the Zoom. We'll start with Chloe.
I mean, what is she reading off a script? What are they reading there? What are they looking at? That's my point. Again, that's why it looks theatrical. That's why it looks like a production. That's why it looks like what? A show that they're trying to deliver here. Is it? I don't buy it, but there's something else going on. Yeah, the mental disease is everywhere, Alita. It is absolutely everywhere. And it permeates through the WNBA from the owners top down. Brittany Griner is a total dude. We know that to be true. Here's Matt Walsh. I didn't read what he said, but look what I'm going to put it back up. It says Caitlin Clark. Okay, he says this might be the biggest coward in history of sports. She refuses to say anything about the anti-white racism she has been subjected to since coming into league. She punts on the trans question, which is the easiest question that could ever be asked. No spine, and that's what he's putting up, and that's what I'm saying. Is she a coward or is she just scared? What say her? Why is it she so reticent to not speak about these things? But that's the problem. Okay. Then you have someone like Brian Urlacher, used to play for the Chicago Bears. I think a defensive end. He says this.
I watch the WNBA, but I'm flipping through the channels the other night and they're on. And I normally don't stop it. I don't watch WNBA. I don't watch NBA. I'm done watching that. But she was on. Caitlin was on. I was like, I'm gonna watch. It's unbelievable. She's so aggressive. She's fun to watch. I follow her on Instagram. She's got great stuff out there. And so she just says what's true. She says common sense thing. And she gets so much backlash. She's like, men should not be playing in women's sports. Why is that so contrary? I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's a simple statement. She stood by it. That's what I love about when people say things. Don't back down. If you say something, stand by it. And she said it. She backed it up. She's not backing down no matter how much heat she gets from certain people. It's an 80-20 issue. 80% of the country think it's true, 20% don't. The 20% is crushing her. Let them. Who cares? But I love that she didn't back down. I love everything she stands for. She plays hard. She's good. And like I said, I don't watch WNBA, but I like those two girls right there. Yeah, she's going to get backlash from the girls around her and other teams. And, it's a liberal and mostly gay league, which is fine. I have no problem. My daughter is gay. No problem. I got no problem with that. I got
a liberal and gay league. He called it out.
No problem with that. But the way they push things on people, sometimes I don't like it in the WNBA. That's why I'm not a big fan of watching their games and supporting it. But,
so it's a marketing apparatus for the global homo agenda, pushing racism, the inequality, the equity, the DEI, lesbianism, homosexuality. Now the trans stuff is bubbling up. You're starting to see the LGBTQ tentacles all over the place. You have batshit crazy dyke coaches that don't have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. You have owners that basically are looking at this as a marketing ploy, and they're just all eyes on now and stuff. Why would you? I don't even watch the NBA. I don't watch any of that stuff. It's garbage. And little girls watch this shit. If I had a little girl, she ain't watching that. She ain't watching this shit. Go out and play. Let me teach you. Go out and learn. You don't want to be them. Yes, Caitlin Clark acted like a coward. She had an opportunity to answer the trans question that she should have answered, that everybody knows is the elephant in the room. Absolutely, no doubt about it. That's what was disgusting.
I know you don't have the fever again in the regular season, but coming out of the break, one of the big news stories has been Sophie Cunningham and the protests for her and protests against her. And, you know, they had a national televised game today, and Cheryl, you know, wore a shirt, and it's just a conversation. I'm wondering, just what do you think about it? Do you think that's good for the league? Does it detract from the basketball? Is it fever again in the regular season, but coming out of the break, one of the big news stories has been Sophie Cunningham and the protests for her and protests against her. And, you know, they had a national televised game today, and Cheryl, you know, wore a shirt, and it's just a conversation. I'm wondering, just what do you think about it? Do you think that's good for the league? Does it detract from the basketball? Is it just noise? I'm just wondering what your opinion is.
I think
Okay, let's see. Holy fucking, what the fuck, motherfucker? Oh my God. All about exclusivity. It's all about inclusivity. It's all about this. It's all about that. There's no sound here. We don't have any sound. 5x5. I'm here. All right, I'll end the show. I don't know what's going on. I'm having problems. For some reason, that wouldn't let me play. Yeah, Sean Davis puts this up. Let's see. Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? I hear soft music in the background, so you can't hear me. Can anybody hear me? Comes and goes. Okay. I think it was that video, because I've been playing videos all day. The WNBA is a welfare and retarded black lesbian funded by the NBA. Anyone who doesn't fit the bill, Caitlin Clark or Sophie Cunningham, for example, will be targeted and terrorized until they can no longer play. White girls are not allowed to be better at basketball than the retarded black lesbians. It does not matter how much money Clark and Cunningham make for the league does not care. It's just the same thing with Tim Tebow. The NFL could not have someone who's a Christian who manifests the way he did. They just couldn't have it. They couldn't have it. And because the NFL is I don't give a fuck. There are people like, oh, fuck the NFL. Fucking retarded fucking satanic league, because it's run by race-obsessed woke retards. This is exactly what the WNBA is. Boycotting will change nothing because the league doesn't make money. It gets welfare from the NBA. You cannot punish something that exists to lose money by making it lose money. Yeah, so their attitude is simply, we have to find other ways to what? Increase our, let's just say, advertisements and monies from other avenues, okay? Because we're on a welfare system. The NBA, not the WNBA, is responsible for the continued racial violence targeted at Clark and Cunningham. That's why the NBA is garbage, because the WNBA exists at the mercy of the NBA. So if you're tired of anti-white racial violence from retarded black lesbians, then you need to take out the NBA. That's an excellent point. Exactly. And who runs the NBA? The Jews. So there you go. That's the last and final point. And he does a good job actually pointing that out, because look, the bottom line is about this. It's the league itself, okay, in tow, has a lot of problems, and they push this stuff. They push this narrative all the time, and it's disgraceful. If you have kids, I would not take my kids to my girls or any of them to a WNBA game. What an embarrassment. What a joke. And all they're doing, this is all agitprop. They're doing this to what? So they can increase their payroll, and so they can find other viabilities, other ways that they can find other ways to make money. And they figure, oh, we can get this to partner with that. We can get this to partner in this. And then we can make it more of an explosive dynamic thing. And we can get more eyes on, more views, more advertisements. That's the whole thing. And they realize in some way that they're stuck and they don't know where to go from there. And that's really what it is. The WNBA is quintessential corporate welfare. That's what it is from the NBA. Think about it. Predominantly black league, black and lesbian. Well, that fits the bill. No one would watch that anyway. Now they have white performers in there that are really good. Oh, but you know what? We can't have them, controlling the league because that's not who we are. Now we got to bring what? Trans men in there acting as women to what? Help satisfy and help make sure that there are athletes in here that like Griner and other people. The point being, what's sad about this is that if this is uncovered out there and that there are trans men working in there, it's going to be ugly. That's what I'm saying. And the blowback is going to be powerful. And I think the voices, all of them, will be heard. Well, that's our show for tonight. Sorry about the sound. I mean, I don't know what's going on with these. It's the videos. Some of these videos are not transitioning over. And I have so many videos. I still didn't get to all my videos and stuff. But that's it. That's our show. I want to thank everybody for supporting the platform. Babylon coming to the end soon. Yeah. For a lot of these players, a lot of this people pushing this garbage. I mean, it's just like, I thought we're done with all this stuff. We're still dealing with the woke stuff. We're still dealing with the trans stuff. It ain't going away. As much as we beat it back into the caves, it's still here. Thank you, Darrell, for the 2.2 on the leaderboard. Wood USA with 938 gold bills and Super D with 800. I appreciate you all for supporting the platform. Look, that's the problem. It's not going to go away all on its own. Will it go away if Trump's not here? Probably not. All right, it'll find a way to come back in so many ways. We have to do everything we can to make sure we're not dealing with this, okay, anymore. That's what the problem is. We need to move forward about this stuff. We have to end this once and for all. I think the exposure to the WNBA about what it is about the trans and gay community inside the NBA and what it foretells and what it tells in some way is striking. Honestly, it's not a league of women other than what we're seeing about Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. But Caitlin Clark had her opportunity. She had an opportunity to speak up, and she chose not to. And that's, to me, that's just telling. That's cowardice. It is cowardice. I'll give it to Cunningham. At least she did her part to call out and say what's on her mind and not hold back. What is the league going to do when those two women are not there? What are they going to do? I mean, they get an extra 2 point. I saw it was a 2.2 to about 4 million viewers extra when those games are on. Some ridiculous amount that it jumps like 50, 60% increase of viewership. What are they going to do? Looks like the NBA might have to fork out bigger pockets to subsidize that welfare league. Well, that's our show for tonight. I will return on Friday. Have a great evening. Be well, be safe, be smart. I know we're over our time. Ciao, Bella.